Identities are not something to be feared.
The nightmare begins.
You cannot control everything, Strange.
Stephen, I have to finish this.
I sacrificed everything.
I'd rather go save the world. Later, skaters.
You heard it up top. Get ready for a very special episode where we are talking all things Marvel Universe. So break out the shop-tees and step through the portal because we're talking Moon Knight and the Multiverse of Madness here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, the Colin Supreme.
I'm Mike Spector. I will pay my debt.
Hey, I'm Joe Lockley. I don't know nothing about Mike Spector.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jacob Strangemoon. Welcome to my Multiverse of Nightness.
Nice. Yes, it's the multi-moon night, strange night of the moon multiplied.
Yes,
yeah.
So we're Jacob Strangemoon.
Big Marvel episode. It should be marvelous. Right off the bat, sorry about last week if there was a little technical difficulty. I think we had an audio drift. That's on me. I take full responsibility, but I'm going to blame Steven. He was the one I put in charge of the recordings last week. Seems like he mucked it all up. So we'll try to be on top of that. So the YouTube version, though, will be perfectly in sync. So if you really want to hear that quiz with all the drama, do that. But that's the house cleaning. We're here to talk two big Marvels, and that's pretty cool. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, we're going to do this a little different. We're going to have one segment we're going to start with Moon Knight because we've all seen all of Moon Knight. We're going to kind of go over that, and then we'll have a break, and then three of us, Colin, Jacob, the three personalities inside of host night. We'll do the Multiverse of Madness because Joe is going to go on a very special mission.
I'm from a universe where Multiverse of Madness it kept a different date. It switched with the Marvels, so we'll have to catch up at a different time.
Yeah, his universe that has not released yet. So we'll try to bring him back through the portal next time. But we will get Moon Knight. So I say we just jump right into it. The night is young. The moon is high, and let's get chatting. Marvel.
We're back, and you heard it up top. We're talking Moon Knight to kick things off in all things Marvel, because that's right. This stuff happened to be released on the same day. We had the finale of Moon Knight occurring the same week as the release of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Clearly some sort of Marvel tie-in. A lot of delays, right, leading to this as well, but I'm very happy to be talking both. We're talking the entire series of Moon Knight. We haven't even given first impressions on a watch or anything like that. I don't believe, right?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Maybe just touched on it.
So. Yeah.
And we'll try to keep each property relegated to its segment, so we're not going to talk, but in Multiverse it was similar to Moon Knight in this way or whatever, right? We're just going to talk just Moon Knight and just Doctor Strange, and it will be full spoilers. Yeah, it's a double
full
feature.
Spoilers for Moon Knight now. If you want to skip to Multitudes of Madness, whatever the fuck,
Multitudes, yeah.
Multi-Moons of Madness. Moon Madness is what this episode's going to be called, the double feature. But yeah, real quick, up top, I want to ask, growing up, did you guys ever have an interest, as we know, Moon Knight as the avatar of Khonshu. There's a lot of Egyptian gods and Egyptian kind of mythology in this. Colin, kick it off to you. Do you ever have any interest in this kind of stuff as a kid?
Yeah, I prefer Greco-Roman stuff, but I was just like a super mythology, gods and demons kid. Mike, and I'm sure you are as well, because you can just add so much to your little fantasy worlds that you create in role-playing games. But literally every religion, I'd be like, oh my god, these idiots worship the fucking cow, or this thing or that thing, and it's just so fascinating that Egyptians specifically, it's wild. And yeah, I was just obsessed. And of course, we're from the 90s, so it's got to be said. The Mummy, Brendan Fraser.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's
which just celebrated its 23rd anniversary. The movie is 23 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, obviously I was an Egyptian kid. Indiana Jones is my favorite movie of all time. I loved all things Egypt, and it was fun to see all that back in action with Moon Knight.
Nice. Jacob, how about you?
When I was a kid, I was more into medieval era type stuff, but obviously I love the Mummy, Brendan Fraser, and Indiana Jones. So I'm into archaeologist type stuff, and yeah. Got
it. Yeah, I think for me, like Colin was saying, I was drawn to things. If it had a pantheon, I was very interested in that. I want to know what all your gods are. What do they look like? What do they do? What's their favorite food, blood type? That kind of thing.
Norse. Yeah.
Yeah, Greek, Norse, the Roman gods. Greek, all that. I loved it. Yeah, exactly. And Rome, a lot of times, it didn't get all the way to Egypt. It had some, obviously, with Cleopatra, they did, but they would generally absorb other gods into their pantheon and just had one super pantheon, as a way to keep people from, don't take my religion. They're like, no, we'll just add it to ours.
The writing on this sarcophagus, Mike, but wait, he did consider himself a pharaoh. Oh, Alexander the Great, he was. He was Egyptian too, of
By
course.
George, it's Alexander the Great sarcophagus. Yeah, that's a late episode spoiler. Yeah, but we're all in it.
One other
Big national treasure vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, it always takes some sort of existing mythology. This is here's a name you remember from 6th grade history class.
Yeah. One other thing for me, when I was a kid, I played a lot of Age of Empires, and there was also a game called Age of Mythology, which was like Age of Empires but very mythology based, and it really went in depth into different religions and stuff. So I played a lot of that as well.
Nice. So yeah, we get this. It's sort of an action mystery little spy. It is kind of like a globe-trotting spy film. A little bit of an adventure Indiana Jones vibe. We're going into pyramids and dealing with gods. It's an interesting little show.
Let's back up.
Yeah.
That is the show for sure. But let's just take a step back because we're talking Marvel. I know we're not talking the other thing as well, but we're talking the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Gang, we are getting to the point where I have to check in and ask these things of, did you know that this character existed before this property?
Good
This
question.
is certainly no Spider-Man of any kind. Jacob, what does Moon Knight mean to you in your history?
Nothing really.
Of course not.
No, I'm not familiar with the character at all. So for me, I kind of prefer it that way because then I would probably be more bored watching this if I already knew his origin story and everything. So basically, I just knew that he was a superhero with multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia or whatever, and that's kind of the only thing I knew about him.
Yeah, and I didn't have really any familiarity. I just I kind of knew the look, I knew that a Moon Knight existed, but I didn't know all the things about, let's say, his personality, so I had no idea that was a thing.
Now, Joe, a comic book reader like myself, there is a particular description people who read comic books in our time period would use to describe Moon Knight. I'm very curious if you would use it or say it. Do you kind of know what I'm talking about?
Marvel's Batman, is that what you're...
Thank you, my
at?
friend.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I've heard it a million times. I would not use that comparison at all. Batman doesn't... Batman's not an immortal creature. Batman doesn't have any sort of if Batman gets shot in the head, Batman's done. That's it. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the case for Moon Knight. Moon Knight in the late 90s, early 2000s is when he really started to hit, maximum saturation, I think, in Marvel Comics. This was the Marvel Knights era where they were trying to do things a little edgier. And that led directly into the Marvel Now books, which, Colin, I think those runs are kind of where people like you and I have gotten the most exposure. Yeah, that's it right there.
Nice. I
say all that to basically set up. The words were true, the descriptors of white Batman in costume. He puts on this all-white costume because he wanted people to see him coming to attack you, right? But otherwise it was... no supernatural powers. He exclusively used gadgets. He was a millionaire from his mercenary work. He had a butler named Frenchie, who was his compatriot, who would sort of set up and help and maintain his gear. He used the moon wing, which was like a glider. He used the moon cycle. I'm saying all this to say, is that anything like the show that we all watched?
I believe there's a motorcycle. That's probably about it, and it's not a moon cycle by any means whatsoever. Yeah, that is completely different, day and night, pun intended. So it seems like, the origins are way different than kind of where the character evolved into, and we're getting kind of a later stage Moon Knight adapted here.
The question, he was introduced in the 70s, and you get this understanding that, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in the 60s, it's okay, true believers, Thor is real. He's a space alien. Wowzy wow. I'm taking all that mythology and making it mine. You totally get why that worked. And why people in the 70s would be like, oh shit, that worked for that fucking old man. What other dumb mythologies are out there? Egypt? Great. Grab it, graft it on, make an original character. And that gets totally lost over this course of the 80s, 90s, up to the 2000s, where Joe started talking about the edginess of it all. But in between, the multiple personality stuff was kind of always there. But the big question, and that they kind of come to a definitive answer. I'm not sure if Joe would agree with this as well. But the reality of what Khonshu was sort of came to a head in the 2000s of Khonshu is just one of his personalities. There is no god. There is no superpowers. There's nothing. Mark Spector, nothing makes him special. He's a person who is losing his mind, using his money to beat people up on the street.
Sure.
That's
wow.
kind of where it was until this Marvel Now run, which is loosely what the show is based on, in that I'm having conversations with my father on the phone. I own that first volume right there. That is the first Marvel Now that I'm pointing to, viewers, if you watch it. And he's saying, like, my dad on the phone saying, like, I don't like the Mr. Knight costume. I don't understand that. What's that from? And I go, Dad, I own the comic book that introduces that costume. It's completely different. It doesn't make sense in the comic book, too, because unfortunately what you guys have to understand, and listeners as well, if you're not big comic book readers, like Joe said, that run behind me is critically acclaimed. It's written by this guy named Warren Ellis. Guess what? He never gets to finish that run. Even though it's popular, it only becomes popular in the trades. It's like cult comic or cult TV shows. You know, it's like once it gets canceled, you pick up the DVDs and go, oh, this is really good.
Like your Fireflies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is Moon Knight's legacy, too. I mean, the character was introduced in Werewolf by Night.
It's a mess.
It was
Which we're getting
cult
soon.
Character that ended up like taking on an entire life of its own. One of my favorite things about the Batman argument is, right, like people now are like, oh, Batman with prep time. How much prep time does Batman need? Batman's the ultimate strategy mind. Taskmaster is can not mimic one person in the entire of the Marvel universe. That one person is Moon Knight, because Moon Knight does not block. Moon Knight does not stop. Moon Knight is all attack, no defense, no matter what the situation is. And Taskmaster can't mimic that.
Huh. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that. And I'm trying to think, we'll have to discuss whether or not that gets translated to this version in the show. I think he blocks. But it is fascinating that the character of Moon Knight, since his origin to now, does, in fact, have an identity crisis. It's almost fitting that the character is kind of all over the place and then gets appreciated later. And I think maybe we'll see what happens with the show. But that's all stuff I had no idea about. So thanks for filling me in.
But again, not necessary at all. Throw it all away.
For the show,
I'm very curious comparatively for the products you got, because what we're left with is very interesting. Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the look. Now, the costume that Moon Knight has, which you go, it's Egyptian. Of course he looks like a mummy. That's great. Again, no comic book version of him has ever looked the way that he looks on this show. That is a singular look. The things he does is incredibly singular. Do you guys like it? How does it work for you?
Well, I do want to bring up one parallel. You mentioned that comic run that is kind of loosely based off of. That's kind of like Hawkeye, is loosely based off this thing, but there's a different version of it, right?
Marvel Now as well.
Yeah, so we're getting kind of, they're pulling from Marvel Now. Knowing nothing about it, I do like it, and you see what they're doing with Thor, and like, oh, Norse gods are a thing, why not Egypt? And if they're just gonna, if Khonshu is in fact real, and it's just Egyptian gods, let's go, or, it's a snow globe, and the entire show and season 2 is like, no, he's just crazy guy, who knows? But I kind of like it, and I like the look, yeah.
The fact that it took like 50 years for someone to be like, oh, that Egyptian god who's white should make it look like mummy wraps blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like that was singularly Kevin Feige's idea.
Yes.
And I'm shocked that it took this long for someone to take the Egyptian character in white and just what if you added texture to that?
Yes.
Yeah, and it gives it a unique look, Jacob. I mean, what do you think? Because it has that texture. It's not just spandex or a muscle suit. It is unique, you know, and even the way it comes on, it kind of wraps around him. I think that's very cool visually.
And then the Mr. Knight is when he's Steven under the suit, essentially, right? So that's just to signify that. I think the suit looks fine. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. The Mr. Knight one, I it's whatever, but I like it's kind of clever to have that to signify who's like in control of the body at the time, right?
It's fun later when they're kind of switching back and forth, and it did grow on me, I think, as did a lot of the personalities of the characters in this show overall, but unique from what we've seen in these shows, I guess.
Yeah.
Super spoilers to what Jacob just said, but in that suggestion of the suit changing to how you look, will we never see the two Moon Knights we've seen again? If we ever saw Moon Knight again with Jake Lockley, would he have a third different suit?
Oh, probably.
My hope, Colin, is that if they do that, it'll be the Marvel now with the black accents mixed in with the white.
Armored up. That would be really cool.
He's an edgier. Yeah, I would love to see a third, the Jake Lockley Moon Knight outfit. As we know, there is a third personality in there that even Mark and Steven are apparently unaware of. And when he takes over, bad shit happens and people die. And
Yes.
And Spanish is spoken. Yeah. So I would look forward to seeing that. Maybe this is a good question. We talked about the suits. What do we think about Steven and Mark and potentially Jake, even though he was kind of hidden, or if you watch the show again, I bet you'd pick up on more maybe Jake moments than you did the first time. But yeah, Colin, what do you think about these
Well,
three?
and the man underneath it, I'll say, even Oscar Isaacs.
Yes.
Mike, are you an Oscar Isaacs fan?
Big time. Ex Machina, Dune, they fly now.
I like a Poe Dameron. I like when they fly now.
They fly now.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Oscar Isaac. How about you? Like, Joe, you like Oscar Isaac?
Oh, yeah. Add to the list Inside Llewyn Davis, Annihilation. I mean, I love everything I've seen him in.
Mm-hmm. He's never bad in anything.
Very talented.
Yeah, everything you guys said. Drive, which is the first thing that I remember seeing him in. He was just in a small supporting role, and I was like, oh, that guy. He, might want to watch out for him. And then, obviously, Inside Llewyn Davis, I love. One of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. And I guess that kind of goes in my overall thoughts of this whole show, is that I thought it was kind of middling material, but with an excellent Oscar Isaacs performance in it. And I think that's kind of what really saved it. But he's doing great work. It's just I wish he had, I wish he would do other, I wish he had better material sometimes. But he makes some weird choices sometimes with like the X-Men Apocalypse. That didn't work out too well. When he tries to do franchise things.
How dare you?
He hasn't found kind of his thing yet.
Forgot about that one.
Is Moon Knight, is this apology money for Star Wars? Like, hey, man.
Yeah, he had Star Wars.
You get a whole show,
he was great
buddy.
in Star Wars, but obviously mixed feelings
Zack
about those
Snyder's
movies.
Sucker Punch. You love Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch.
Oh, he was the bad guy in that. Yeah.
And he was in
yeah.
Dune, and I loved him in Dune, but unfortunately, spoiler alert for that movie, he dies right in the first part, so we're not going to see.
He does play the
a big plot
daddy in
point.
Dune, and of course, he is known as the internet's daddy, Jacob. And he was told this on the press tour for Moon Knight, where they said, "Do you understand that it is a popular meme to refer to you as daddy?" To which he responded, "That's okay. You could call me daddy if you want to."
Yes, and he said Timothy
Nice.
Chalamet was his special little baby.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
he's great.
great.
He seems like a great guy, and like in interviews and stuff that I've seen, he seems like a really down to earth guy. And
Nice.
very
Oscar Isaac.
good director. I mean,
Him
he's
and
like,
Pedro Pascal have like a really fun relationship on social and stuff like that too. So.
Yeah.
Oh, man, get him in The Mandalorian. Oh, wait, no, he's already Poe Dameron.
Well,
he can't be. Never mind.
what
Never
is
mind.
that? Because
You
they were in
Poe
that
Dameron
Ben Affleck
ancestor.
movie Triple Frontier together. Is that why?
Yes, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
they're
were
just
in that movie
homies.
together, but I think they're just.
That's so
I think
weird.
they've known each other for a while and stuff too, and they're both
Sure.
kind of Hispanic actors coming up at the same time, so they kind of identify with that angle.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
He's,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's Guatemalan and Jewish on his mother's side, of course. Mark Spector, the first Jewish superhero, I would imagine, right? And of course, spoilers, but Layla, the first Egyptian superhero, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know
right,
if you
yeah.
saw he was on SNL recently, and if you watched his monologue on SNL, he kind of jokes about how in Hollywood he's known as ethnic, which means he can basically play anything.
Right.
And because he's played white, he's played Jewish, he's played Hispanic, he's played many different,
Ethnicities.
Middle
different
Eastern.
things,
I
yes.
watched a Ridley Scott movie recently.
Yeah.
And you need someone vaguely ethnic. You call Oscar Isaac and you just put him in there. But Hollywood, they're doing a better job. Like so, we have a lot of Egyptian actors in this show and stuff generally. But back to what Jacob said, it is a great performance from Oscar Isaac. I think he does crush it. And I think it's interesting the way they start the show, introducing us to Steven, only to find out, Steven is not the original personality. I think that's really a cool way to set it up. I mean, Joe, how does that kind of work for you and differ from the comics at all?
That works for me. I thought there was too much Steven.
I love Steven. Oh, Joe.
I didn't.
You want to get rid of me?
I really like Mr. Knight gets to
That was very good, Jacob.
There's so many fun things in the comic, and I feel like they turned it into a pretty one-note joke of I've got powers now, and I say British words. I don't know. I like Mr. Knight a lot more in the comics, but I feel like the way Steven is in the comics is maybe a little too close to how we're going to see Jake in the shows. Colin, do you think that's fair to say at all?
Fair. Again, in the comics, Mr. Knight is essentially like a fourth personality, maybe. He's kind of just how Mark is presenting himself in a more social manner, and he wants to be a private investigator, essentially, and he is cooperating with the police. He is not a vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
I do know, Mark Spector is kind of known as Moon Knight, so that's something I knew going in, they're presenting him as Steven to begin with, but I know his main alias is probably going to be Mark Spector, because that's how the comics are.
That it would overtake him. But I like the Steven-ness of it all, because the fish out of water angle is, of course, a good idea for a TV show to spring it off of, can you believe this guy's going in this? Let me bring up a very controversial thing, because I think this kind of, if you like this, you like all of it. If you don't like it, none of this works for you. The blackout fight. Now, it seemed like something where a lot of the critics were like, is this how it's going to be? This is dumb. And I think it's a very effective device to use in the intro, in that first episode primarily, because, again, it is the fish out of water, and you are highlighting the difference between the two. It's not like it stayed that way. There's plenty of action through the rest.
Yep.
But the final fight, the literal final fight, the climax and payoff of this entire series is a callback to that, and the villain Ethan Hawke, who we should talk about in a bit, is defeated by our lead in a way where the audience is not sufficiently satisfied, I would say. But it is a callback primarily. Does that work for you guys?
Well, we see throughout, he goes and he kind of blacks out when Jake Lockley appears, and that's when it gets really violent, right? To me, it kind of seems like a way to get around filming and paying for action scenes, right? But
it feels like a way for Disney Plus to keep the illusion of the violence of the Netflix shows
is R-rated
actually
stuff,
showing
right,
the
Joe?
violence of the Netflix shows.
Just a lot of ketchup on the ground. You don't show it coming out of the bottle. You just cut to it's already spilled,
I don't have a problem with the payoff, but I have a problem with they did it too much. Even saying it's a callback to that. It happens 4 times in the pilot. If it happened once in the pilot, and it's the first time we see an alter appear, and then it happened once at the end after we think we're through the alter drama, only to find out there is an addial personality, it would work. But it felt like too much. They did it only when it felt like it was convenient.
Yeah. He's fighting those 3 guys in Egypt. He blacks out. They're all dead on the ground or whatever.
And that one in particular, there's no reason for that one to have happened.
Yeah, and I was
just saying that's Jake Lockley coming out, right?
Yeah, but then it is the climax of the series, and they just cut away and cut back, right? So I could see how people were dissatisfied. And I have an issue with this, too, because it does another cliche where they got Ethan Hawke defeated, and then Mark's like, all right, we got to kill him. We've been trying to kill him the whole time because he has the god inside of him now, and if we kill him, all right, no people will be killed. And it's like, don't do it, Mark. And it's like, I've killed 80 people on the way to this. What's the last guy? And it's just so that in the post-cred, surprise, Jake Lockley takes over and finishes the job himself.
But
But
at
it's
the
just
same
so they
time,
could
I
do
kinda-
that with Jake Lockley. That's contrived.
But I
yeah.
like that twist
Oh.
because it's like Steven and Mark, because like the whole moral battle between Steven and Mark, where Mark's doing things that Steven thinks
Disagrees
is terrible.
with. Yep.
By the end of it, they both agree. All right, we're not going to kill Ethan Hawke, but then there's an even darker personality.
The
Jake
scales are
Lockley.
balanced. Oh,
no,
not
but he
anymore.
needed to die at that point. He killed thousands of people, presumably.
Right.
Like, come
Well,
on.
he has a
Yeah.
god in him.
Yeah, get it done, and then we'll stop. This is the last one, okay? All right, Mac, we can just do this last one then. Make it quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of the gods, though, I adored the like kaiju in the background during the final battle sequence.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite MCU moments. Just it feels so much like a comic book to see that. I thought it was really inventive and exciting.
Yeah,
was
Conchu
cool.
with the alligator was very, very
I
fun.
liked F. Murray Abraham as Conchu's voice. I thought he was really fun.
Yeah.
So
It's a little
Yeah.
too much for me.
get some Death
sometimes
Note
it read
vibes.
like too much like Venom to me.
Yeah.
And I mean that as like an absolute
Steven,
insult,
can
the
we
way
eat
as a
everyone should
compliment,
take it.
yes, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about we're talking about the gods, and Colin, you mentioned Ethan Hawke. What do we think about Ethan Hawke's character? I don't know his name. That could be a personal failing.
Arthur Harrow, yeah.
Arthur
it's,
Harrow, yeah.
It's rough. Now, we're introduced to this idea of avatars, right? These avatars of the gods. People have brought up, how is this connected to the grander MCU? I was talking to Joe about it. They set up in Black Panther, in that intro, that they are the avatar of Bast, the Panther god of Egypt, right? So this is sort of this idea that, like, these gods could come to you, you will be a vessel for them, whatever happens, happens. Now, I was thinking about this, Mike.
Yes,
and not even to answer your question of what I think about Arthur Harrow, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really don't care about this villain at all, or even for a second of it.
But even our
The fact that
protagonist
he's
is just
this
a
avatar-
function of an avatar. Yeah.
Yes. It really bugged me at the end, too, when Amit's like, I didn't even know you were doing all this. And he's like, yeah, I've just been kind of doing it on my own. Like, here we go. But I think that is my best bet at being a superhero in the MCU. I don't want to be bit by anything or blasted by anything or injected by anything. I don't really want to wear, like, a suit or anything crazy. But you know what? If if Ra wants to just, like, take a ride for, like, a little bit, I am fucking down for that. Like, take over the body, man. I could do that for a bit.
I'll make
But
sure
then
you
it's
don't
basically
die. You'll
enslaving
get
you.
powers.
Yeah.
Short-term
It is
basis,
what it
though.
is.
It's a
You're
rental,
pledging
though.
your life in
Honestly.
service of a god, and you have
Yes.
to follow its will.
Well, that's
I'm
basically
pretty
being a
sure-
paladin in D&D.
Yes, thank you, Mike. And I'm pretty sure I'll get to go to the Field of Reeds at the end, so
Yeah.
what's it matter?
What is there to do in that heaven, though? Man, how
I'm not
boring is
paying
that?
attention.
It
Pray you
seems
don't have
You just
very-
recreate the
That's it.
gladiator ending. You just drag your fingers through them.
Hey, you ever seen Field of Dreams? That's what this
That's
is
what you
for.
could do. Kevin Costner's going to
But
come
what
out
about
and
you
play
guys?
ball.
You wouldn't want to be an avatar?
I mean, it's the best way I would get
depends on which
powers. I think
god.
you're right, because I'm not into training or working hard. You just got to give
I would
them to
rather
me.
get like radioactive or something, get bitten by
Yeah.
something, you know. why
Chernobyl.
not?
Yeah, I guess. The roll of the dice of that. I said it before. I like Greco-Roman before. We know that we're going to get some of that pantheon in the upcoming Thor, God Love and Thunder.
Yes.
Knowing me, like, Hades would be like, yo, Colin, let me ride that thing for a minute. I'd be like, absolutely,
If
dude.
it's
Like, you
Disney's
do what you
Hades,
gotta
heck
do.
yeah, dude. Sign me
Yeah,
up.
why not? Yeah,
The one
no,
from the
James
Hercules
Woods
movie?
inside me, Mike.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
Woods is like, hey, Colin, come join the alt-right with me.
We gotta go.
Oh, no.
We gotta kill Hillary. I'm like, oh my
Don't you
god.
think I'm taxed too high, Colin?
Oh, no.
But Khonshu protects those who travel at night. You want me to hunt down Pizzagate?
Oh,
Like, yep,
jeez.
that's right.
Yeah.
But so the other guy, Ahmed, is, to contrast Khonshu, Ahmed is killing people.
We have
Who are-
Tuere, who is
They're
the
pre-criming it. They're like, oh, you're gonna
Minority
do a
Report,
crime. We're
yeah.
gonna kill you before that happens. Meanwhile,
They're
Khonshu's
minority
like, I'll
reporting
punish them. Yeah.
with
I
that
love how it's
scale.
literally a god, and you're like, no. They stole this from Minority Report.
Yeah. That's the first time that had ever
It's
been
the
done.
direct ripoff
That's
of,
right.
of Steven Spielberg's Minority Report.
That's right.
Right.
Just trying to find a parallel to the audience, something they can grab onto.
Here's my question.
You guys love Minority Report. I
You keep telling us to cover it.
Who
Yeah.
doesn't? Yeah.
We'll report on it. Yeah. Once you're the majority.
I have a question about Stephen and Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
The physics of their how they live their life,
Don't even
because
try.
Mark is
no.
living in America, but he turns into a British guy sometimes who's just like, so when that first started happening, don't you think Steven would be like, wait, why am I in America? Like, what's going on? And then we see later, you know, Steven has his own life in London where he has a job at a museum.
He's a gift shopist
with people. Yeah. So I guess that's just Mark hiding out in London, but I'm just very confused about the whole situation. It doesn't really get explained well.
It doesn't have to make sense. It's candy, I think, is kind of the way you need to look at it. Like, it doesn't truly, like, you know, you can make the argument that, like, well, he never worked at the gift shop at all. None of that's real, because in the scenes where he's in the asylum, his boss is there. Why would she be there? That's all just something that the brain makes up when he's in his chasm.
Well, the asylum stuff is in his brain, but he's pulling from his real life. That's why Arthur Harrow is there.
Why do we jump back there at the end? Why do we have an entire thing after the afterlife, after they've already reconnected, where they go inside?
You know what?
Truly, and I ask this, I have no answer for it. Is it truly just him having a mental lapse or some sort of episode?
I think so, yeah. Which, I mean, that episode was the best episode of the series, right? We can all agree on that. The 5th episode.
Yes.
Where he's in the asylum, you're trying to figure out what's happening. You can see both personalities manifested physically as people, right?
And you learn the kind of the backstory, what happened with him and his abusive mother, and the reason Steven was created. Yeah, that was the best part of the show, and it had the least amount of punching. You know,
and that's an interesting backstory for his mom to never forgive him for his sibling's death, basically.
Which I'm pretty sure is tweaked. I'm pretty sure that's altered for the show.
Little bit in that. He does die, but his brother, of course, becomes like, it's called like Shadow Guard. It's like an all black Moon Knight who's like his arch rival. So.
Right, we got to have the evil version of the hero for him to fight at some point. That's the Marvel standard.
If they ever make the movie that the director wants to make, I'm sure that's what they'll do.
Oh, I'm sure.
Man, great. We got it with Black Panther, Ant-Man, but yeah.
That 5th episode, let's say, though, incredibly respectful to dissociative identity disorder. The idea that young abuse usually is where it occurs, people creating these identities to sort of house and compartmentalize the abuse that they're going through.
Trauma.
Very well done.
That is.
I loved it. Thought it was great. This is the second Disney show where the 5th episode, or the penultimate episode, if you include WandaVision, is a tour guide of people going through their memories and experiencing, quote unquote, the best scenes, where we just get these, quotes. I'll just even say, after I said quote unquote, actual quotes where people are like, oh, the love persevering is like the line of WandaVision, or in this, you get the origin of later Gators and stuff.
Yeah.
It's, again, for the strength of this show, which is that it really is not connected to the MCU at all in any kind of way. Boy, it's still just doing the same thing.
Yeah. And
I mean, they have sort of a formula that they stick to.
I don't think it's working. I think we're officially at the point where I would say it's not working. Like, I don't think.
I'll be saying that next.
Yeah. Well, but I am reaching a point of Marvel fatigue, I think, with the current formula, and this show is evident of that, because the best stuff is just, Oscar Isaac getting to like do these performances, and the 5th episode is pretty much just that, and the rest of it, there's good and bad, but. There's not a lot to love except for Oscar Isaac's performance.
Mike, you can see him flipping through comics or whatever things, his agents give to him, and he goes, this one guy plays 3 different characters, and I can kind of just get the real estate to like come up with the accent, come up with the mannerisms, we can sound differently. Oh, this will get me an Emmy. Like, this is an acting
I'm sure that was intriguing to him.
Yeah.
Especially the dramatic scenes of, you're not supposed to see that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The idea that it's like, and we'll wrap you in mummy stuff. It's like, okay, that's great, sure.
Well, that's kind of what it is. Like, if you're an actor these days, like, you got to have your superhero franchise at some point. For most, most big actors.
Well, they're not making anything else.
Yeah, that's true. But like I said, I think Oscar Isaac's been looking for, like, he didn't just want to do anything, just to do a franchise. But he did X-Men. That obviously didn't work out too well. And he was like, finally I'm going to do one of these Marvel things, and it's something where you can really stretch his acting chops.
Egypt. I do like
Yeah.
Marvel and Egypt. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Oh, because he was already in Egypt for Apocalypse. He's like, I already am pretty familiar, with the lore. I researched it.
So of all these, WandaVision, Loki, Captain Soldier in the Winter
Marvel.
Soldier,
Captain Soldier.
yes. Hawkeye, and now Moon Knight. 5 shows. How would you rank those from 1 to 5?
That's an impossible question. I'm just going to give you what my top is. And I want to pitch a future segment. So mark this down, listeners, where since Jacob is now into Letterboxd as well, I either want to have some sort of Letterboxd duel where you and I read our top lists and I just keep going, your choices are wrong. And I just keep trying to talk over you. Or doing something
That's the segment name.
That it might be.
Your choices
or it
are
might
wrong.
be called Star-Crossed, where anything Jacob has rated above 3 stars that I have rated under 3 stars, we hash out and you guys vote on to do it better.
Oh, I love it. Let them
way
fight.
You have listed out these shows, these Marvel TV shows, Jacob, drive me crazy. Drive me crazy.
All right, what's your biggest
My
problem
number
with it?
one that I am walking away with right now is Hawkeye. And I know that's controversial, and you have it so low.
Hawkeye, out of all of them?
Huh.
Okay.
It's
Number
going to have
one.
the
You
most
watched any of
rewatchability.
them
It's
twice?
seasonal. No, and I never will.
No, and I never
Maybe
will.
I'll watch Hawkeye next Christmas.
That's the
my-
thing. It's a seasonal watch. Yeah.
Okay, I'll
That's
tell
my
you my
reason.
order. And
Yes, please.
top of the list, I got to put Loki. I think Loki was hands down the best one.
That's my number 2.
Loki was
And
Loki.
then I
Very
would-
good.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would put probably WandaVision. I think I had WandaVision 2, Hawkeye 3, Moon Knight 4, Captain Soldier 5.
Okay. Captain
I'm not
Soldier.
gonna
I
remember what
think, Joe, do you agree that Captain Soldier is maybe the low end of the spectrum here?
I don't think there's any point in ranking them because they all have the exact same issue and they all fall short in exactly the same way to me. Every single one of them is poorly paced and has like the last 2 episodes are the only 2 I actually care about.
Like even,
Every single one of them has fan service moments that aren't really fan service moments. I don't know who they're for, like the Ralph Boner moment.
Yeah.
That was for
the
me.
U.S. agent Falcon 2 moment. Like, I don't know where this, like, we're going to give you what you want. Just kidding. It's different. Anyway, like, here's a 2-hour movie in 6 hours.
Right.
And
okay,
where
well,
is it
that's
going to
my
pay off?
criticism
Right.
For Moon Knight specifically is that this could have been a 2-hour movie, but it was stretched into a 6-hour TV series.
2
And
hours.
it felt
90,
very
90.
draggy to me. Yeah, it could have just been a movie. And this is the first one that really felt like it had a cohesive 3 acts, I felt like, and it would have worked better as a movie. And so I don't know why they just didn't make it a movie.
The only one that I don't think would work better as a movie is WandaVision because it's actually playing on the idea of television.
Yeah.
That said, it still has the same exact pacing issues that every other single show has.
Yes, I
They
agree.
all have the same problem, in my opinion.
Mike, what is your number 1?
Number one's hard. I do really like Loki. I like Hawkeye because it's like Christmas, it's Die Hard with bows and arrows, and
It's so low stakes. It's so
Hawkeye
funny.
is
You
fun.
don't remember how funny it is.
But if
Jacob.
it was
Low
a
stakes,
90-minute
yeah.
holiday special, it would be better.
It is what it is. I don't
You're right,
care.
you're
I don't
right,
like any
Joe.
of them. You're right. You're
all
right.
these shows have
because like
some
let's think
problems.
about look at all of them. Think about WandaVision, and we have like the side characters there, and like the side characters in this, the side characters in Hawk. Like it's all kind of forgettable. Like even the swordsman or whatever from he was great, but it's like
Every show has 2 to 3
you
episodes you
dare.
could just take out, and the show
Yeah,
functions
yeah.
exactly
I would
the
argue
same.
WandaVision had the least pacing issues because you need those early TV episodes to set it up, and I think that worked
Right.
as a show. And I think
I ask
Loki
you
worked.
again,
Maybe
have
that's
you
my favorite then.
rewatched any of them?
No.
Because if you haven't rewatched any
No.
of them, I challenge you to rewatch
how often
WandaVision
do I
and think
rewatch?
it stays fresh
I used-
after a couple seasons.
Jacob's
Or
saying, how
episodes.
often do you rewatch these MCU movies? I used to watch the early ones all the time. I just rewatched Doctor Strange for this other thing we're going to talk about that has no connection to this thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
But, like Shang-Chi or something. No, I'm not going to. It's going to
No.
take a long time to
The
get
ones
back.
I rewatch are, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. I'll rewatch that. I'll rewatch the first Avengers. I'll watch,
The
Thor
Spider-Man.
Ragnarok. Yeah, Spider-Man.
Those were the only ones
Guardians of
I
the
do
Galaxy.
rewatch.
So
Yeah.
you watch the things you like? Who would have thunk?
Yeah. So
I
here's
don't even understand the
It
argument.
is shocking,
I'm just saying
Joe.
the more middling stuff. Like there was things I liked about the Eternals. I'm not going to rewatch it anytime soon.
But then there's not much you liked about it, I guess, is the argument I'm making. The argument I'm making is we've reached a point where, like, you can't call something endgame and then not evolve and expect people to
mid-game.
stay just as interested. Like, if you guys aren't rewatching things, or you think, like, the shows get boring halfway through, or you wouldn't rewatch 6 episodes of a TV show. I've watched The Mandalorian 4 fucking times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
haven't watched
so
Mandalorian
here-
either, though.
No, here's what I'm feeling. You're right, Joe, because like I like Marvel movies enough, but they are really kind of empty calories almost. Like I go through them once
Well, it's
and then I
always been
don't
that
think
way.
about it again.
I
And
don't think it's always been that
well, it's
way.
like James Bond has like 20 movies, but he's been around for 60 years. The MCU is like 20 years old and has like more than that, you know. So
500 movies.
yeah,
I would
so the
argue,
question
I
is,
agree with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
well, I'm just saying, all it needs to do is hold your attention enough to get to the next thing. And Moon Knight seems to be only getting to Moon Knight season 2. So my question for you guys is, are you interested in that? Would you watch more, despite kind of the pros and
Yeah, I would
cons that
watch
we've
the
been running
season
through?
2.
For the record, has not been greenlit or announced or anything like that.
It has not.
The director
Okay.
has said that they would like to do a movie.
Okay, a movie to follow. I would be interested in that just because of Oscar Isaac, but you know, I don't know. It is weird. These things kind of just come, they just blow
Right.
by,
Well, here's
and I
my
don't think
take
about them
on,
again.
Marvel, and we'll get into it more in the next segment too, in our second part of our double feature.
Yeah.
But you know, I think Marvel's always been kind of like empty calories type entertainment. As long as they're still doing well financially, you know, I can't argue that they're not working. You know, like I don't know what the numbers are for the Disney Plus shows, but like pretty sure Doctor Strange is doing well financially. Obviously,
Well, the
Spider-Man
first
No Way
week
Home
that this
a
was
huge
reported
success.
through Nielsen, it was at number 3, and that's because Nielsen's
Uh-huh.
behind. So in a couple weeks, it might move up to number 1 in streaming TV, but it's it's in the top 5. So like people were watching Moon
Yeah.
Knight.
I think some of these shows have captured the zeitgeist more than others, like WandaVision. People were really talking about that when it came out. Right?
And that had a real
This one
Avenger
maybe
in it.
less so.
Yeah, this is an unknown character, right? So that's the other
so
lift they
some
had
of
to
these
do.
are better, some of these are worse. They're all kind of in the middle for me, but you know, they're fine. I mean, they're good entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm
But
reaching
I
the
kinda-
point where I don't think that's enough. I don't think WandaVision and Loki, I think you were trying something different. My biggest disappointments have been the two that I was looking forward to the most: Moon Knight and Winter Soldier and
Yeah.
Falcon. And they're the two that, frankly, just should have been movies. You didn't know how, you didn't want to make a transition movie with Sam as Cap, so you made the TV show.
No, that could have been Captain America 4,
Yeah.
and then Moon Knight easily could have been a movie. I totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
And
I'm
like
with you.
I really want to see more of Moon Knight, but I'm not really interested in seeing another TV show that kind of uses the same gimmick and does the
Yeah.
same sort of storytelling. Like I don't know, lean more into the supernatural for me. Like give me a Halloween special called Werewolf by Night that's an hour long, Moon Knight episode. Like I would rather prefer things like that than these shows that all have the same pacing issues to me.
And even if it's direct to streaming or charge us $10, whatever, like just I would prefer a movie of this. Like even if you don't want to do the theatrical release because it's a pain in the ass, just do a movie,
Yeah.
I'm definitely
You've
with you,
got
Joe.
the draw of an Oscar Isaac level talent. People would go see that movie, I think.
Yeah.
How does this make you guys feel about the Disney Plus shows moving forward? I mean, like, I'll be honest, this was the first time I watched Moon Knight every day, like on Wednesday, the day after it came out. But towards the end, it sort of started to feel a little bit like a chore, man. It sort of feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw that into what I'm watching. It wasn't the WandaVision or Mando days of waiting up until midnight and, oh no, my Disney Plus crashed because so many people are trying to get into this. And like, you guys will have your next
I feel
segment, but
the
I didn't
same
even get
way.
to Doctor Strange in theaters. Like, I
Right,
think the
right.
fatigue is real.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange, I think, is worth seeing in theaters. The next show is what? Ms. Marvel, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of very iffy about that. I'm sure it'll be in the
Very
middle, down
nervous.
the middle. Yeah.
I bet it's going to be very similarly structured. Like, yeah, 3 and 4 for this, I was like already like, I like Oscar Isaac, but I'm getting kind of bored. And then episode 5, and I'm like, okay, I'm back in. And then the finale I'm kind of mixed
And then
on it,
it's
you know?
over.
Yeah, and then it's just done now. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling fatigued, I think, and I'm not really excited about Miss Marvel. And I don't have any familiarity. Like, I'll throw it on,
well,
but
they're I mean, the big
Running
controversy
out of
with that
steam.
one is they're changing her powers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
from Whatever, big hands. You know, she makes her
For
hands
big
big.
hands.
just big hands.
All right. We're talking Marvel TV. Let's jump over. Let's talk the feature world now. Let's move on through this magic portal. Talk more Marvel after the break. We're back. We are officially entering the multiverse here, stepping through without our compatriot Joe while we enter what can only be described as a multiverse of madness here in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, talking the Doctor Strange sequel to the 2016 film Doctor Strange. I'll just start off here, guys, and say we got a lot to talk about today. Probably the most important of which is the fact that, as we all know, your dreams are just you seeing your multiverse versions of yourself.
That's
Makes me
right.
depressed
That's how
about this
dreams
version of myself, you know? Big spoilers, by the way, but yeah.
Someone's dreaming this right
What are
now.
you seeing? Yeah, what are you seeing, Mike?
You probably like get to fly and stuff. I have had multiverses where I'm being chased like by vampires and stuff. That's not very fun. So I feel bad for that version, but
That's
you
the
know.
vampire.
Yeah.
saw
It's
Witch in one of
that
mine.
layer of the Matrix that they made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that's how dreams work.
No.
They do now.
There's a lot of things about this movie I'm not sure how they work. We're
Yeah.
talking the return here of a filmmaker I love, Sam Raimi, directing
That's
at the
right.
helm of this thing.
Mhm.
A
Longtime editors back. A lot of creative
longtime editor,
collaborators.
but a solo, quote unquote, Doctor Strange movie, right?
Hmm.
But of course, it is tied to a billion things that are Marvel as well, including the fact that it is written by Michael Waldron, who wrote the Loki series, as we were just talking about in the Marvel TV universe.
Mhm.
And I have to say, God,
The
I
MTU?
really think the script is the weakest part of this thing. And
Mm.
since Rise of Star Wars, aka
Mhm.
Rise of Skywalker, I have not watched a film that gave me this much whiplash in my life.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, we talked about pacing issues with the shows. There is major pacing and plotting issues with this movie. There's cool stuff contained within, but yeah, I got a lot of whiplash too, Jacob. Did this have
I wanna
a continuity
say-
or were you kind of all over?
I want to say overall, I liked this movie more than disliked it. It was uneven. It was a bit messy. But, I mean, the main thing I liked about it, you said it already, Sam Raimi. And
yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised that, he was able to put his own style
Yes.
into this movie. It shone through, and those were the best parts of the movie to me,
Yes.
were the Sam Raimi elements of it.
Yeah.
To me,
Definitely shines
it's
through.
better than average Marvel. It's better than average Marvel fare for me.
Yeah, and I want to. We'll probably do at some point. Hey, it'll be a new segment called "What Sam Raimi Stuff Did You Notice?" And we'll just put that at some point. But
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, how did you? How was your viewing experience? Did you get? How was that?
Brilliant question. It was great, Mike. I had reached out to sort of everybody to figure out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Jacob was the only one who bit for the showing we were syncing up on. I was kind of pushing like, 4D, 3D. It's different than 4D. It's different than just 3D. It's 4D, 3D. Let's
Whoa.
do it. Let's do
I
the
don't even know what that
motion, the
means.
3D, everything.
The
It'll be way
4DX
too
stuff,
much.
right?
Yeah.
But Sam Raimi of it all, how kinetic he is, it'll be so crazy. What do you think? Jacob was like, no, I don't know. Not really biting for it. By the time I even looked it up, it was sold out. So we were
wow.
kind of reconfiguring, figuring out what we do. We ended up doing 3D, and I'm very happy that we did.
Huh? 3D. Okay.
Yeah, I think the 3D looked good with this movie. I would recommend, if you want to see it in theaters and, check out the 3D. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, I didn't go until Sunday. We had some friend's wedding over the weekend, so I didn't go Friday. I went Sunday in the evening. Plenty of seats. I always go to the Korean theater over here, but they have what is known as Screen X. So the main screen is in front of you, and then the left and right walls of the theater are also projected upon as this kind of
Whoa.
peripheral expansion. So when they're flying through the multiverse and there's fractals in front of and on the left and right of me, it was kind of interesting. And I get my Korean subtitles, so I loved it. At least the experience.
I would love to do that. That's
so it's
really
like a poor
theater
man's
mode.
IMAX or OmniMax, right? Where it's like you get three
Yeah,
sides.
but additive in a way.
Yeah, it is additive,
Yeah.
especially for the particle effects and all the Marvel CG of it all. So that was pretty cool.
For
So
me,
two different ways.
Doctor Strange. Let's talk about the character of Doctor
Mhm.
Strange. Right?
Ooh.
Not
Oh,
my
we-
favorite.
Talk about Steven. No, not you. Get out. You're talking about Stephen Strange.
Not
Me.
you. We're talking Stephen
Gaius.
Strange.
Different
That's his
British
real
guy.
name.
Yeah.
Not my favorite MCU character.
Shocker.
Mhm.
Doctor Strange 1, not my favorite MCU movie. Far
No.
from it. This one, also not my favorite, but
More like
I liked it
Dormammu, am I
more.
right?
yeah.
But Jacob, you're such a Scott Derrickson fan. You got that big Sinister poster right behind you.
Yeah, I'm a very Mads Mikkelsen fan. I still didn't like it very much.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But this one, even though I don't like the character that much, I did find it more interesting because, I don't even feel like Doctor Strange is really the main character in his own story. He's kind of just there. I think the real star of the show, and this is where we're getting to spoilers, right, is the villain.
Yes, yes,
Villain
and
of this movie.
right. And again, we're going to do spoilers, but I'll air it, and then Jacob can say his piece. We talked about the Marvel TV shows. This is heavily influenced. It's coming off of the WandaVision arc setup, and she
Yes.
had the Darkhold, and then that's kind of where we're picking up with Wanda at this point.
Well,
right?
some people would say that it invalidates the character arc that she went through in WandaVision. I don't.
Yeah, and I
agree
must
with that
say-
necessarily, but
Well, Sam Raimi admitted that he didn't watch it, and that is
yeah,
I
that
have
makes sense.
I have a problem with that because I like Sam Raimi, but if you're gonna do something that's continuing in Marvel, that fans have experienced that part of the journey.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you do that too before you make the next piece? And
Yeah.
maybe that's why it's a little off for some people. It's
Mike, he directed Spider-Man 1. You shut your mouth.
right.
He also
That's
directed Spider-Man 3.
Oh, that's right. That's true.
Yeah. And Spider-Man 2 though, which should give him a golden ticket for life. Yeah.
Back in my side.
Never mind, he did
No, I
nothing
thought-
wrong. Yeah.
I think it makes sense that he did not watch it because this movie is basically saying forget everything, forget any character growth that she went through in WandaVision. Doesn't matter. Her mind's
It feels
possessed
like
by
it.
the Darkhold now. She's becoming seduced by the Darkhold. So
The
that's
Necronomicon.
canon
Now,
explanation for it.
Mike,
Do we
you
do it
say
now?
that, Jacob, we absolutely should. We'll talk about all the things we saw.
We'll get
but
there,
the, the idea of, I just have to say the one of, the first Doctor Strange movie is a book movie. It is about retrieving a book as well. Mads Mikkelsen steals a book, and it's sort of them chasing after it.
There's a lot
This
of magic
is
books out there.
Yeah.
A book movie. This is a
Yeah.
magic book movie. It's
There's
about a
2
woman
books.
possessed by a devil book,
book,
and a
yeah.
good book. Now, but it's so Evil Dead-y. It's great.
It's
very
very,
Evil
very
Dead-y.
Evil Dead-y. Do we want to
And-
just start with here's
Well, I
things
wanna-
that are like Sam Raimi that we noticed?
Yes,
Or
and I can add something.
yes, so
right
we're doing
now.
it now. Segment
Right
begin.
away.
Just to spoil the end of this movie ends the same way that Spider-Man 2 ends, as the same
Yes.
ending.
Sure.
The character, the villain who is possessed by something, finally comes to their senses, realizes what they've done, and sacrifices himself. and
Self-sacrifices.
takes it down with them. It's the
That's
same
right.
ending.
That's
but it's
true. So that's a
Yeah,
Sam
it's very
Raimiism. We'll just go around. We'll just keep going till we run out. My Sam Raimiism is we saw in the trailers we get a zombie Doctor Strange. It gets buried at one point, and then when he sleepwalks into the body, you get the hand coming up, the old Evil Dead hand shot, and it's like I see what you're referencing. Colin, what did you notice that Sam Raimi put in here?
Sleepwalks. Dreamwalking. There is
Yeah.
a Marvel character named Dreamwalker who they attempted to make a big deal at one point. So I have to assume that's a reference. My Sam Raimiism is, of course, the Big Papa. It is Pizza Papa, the man himself.
Who always gets paid.
Always gets paid. Big Papa earns his money. Now, I, of course, have recommended the Blank Check podcast in the past. I'm so deep into Sam Raimi stuff right now, but hearing all these interviews from Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness, you have to understand that even the way that they secured financing to make those films when they were just kids much younger than we are now in their
Mm-hmm.
20s going around to hardware stores in Michigan to ask, they would do stuff like, and you can't even believe what we're going to do, Bruce, show him that thing how you can beat yourself up like the Three Stooges. And he would act like his hand was possessed, and he would punch himself, and he would do a front
somersault.
flip.
Yeah.
He would do a front somersault, which was this huge thing that he could pull off.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, here we are after the director took an almost 10-year break from directing, because even interacting with James Franco, you would want to take 10 years off your life too from your passion.
Right.
And he's coming back again with kind of a moment where he's honoring the guy who started him making movies. Like, it just, my heart wants to explode. It gets so big.
Yes, and to iterate to the audience, what you're talking about is when Doctor Strange gets annoyed with Pizza Papa for not having any money, and he curses him to beat himself up for basically 3 weeks, and he comes back in the post-cred scene, and that's very much Evil Dead, yeah.
Gives him the final
If you
shot
don't
of his
like that second post-credit scene, if you're the kind of person who didn't like that, then you know, I don't know what to tell you, but this movie probably isn't for you. But
No.
I thought it was
Sam
hilarious.
Raimi's probably not
It's
for
great.
you.
That's right.
Yeah. Jacob, do you have another Sam Raimi thing that you notice about all this? That he's bringing to it a different, you know.
Yeah, I just think the camera work was so
Yes.
great. I mean, an MCU movie where the camera actually moves and does interesting things, you don't see that very often. I think this might be the MCU movie with the best camera work, the best shot of any MCU movie,
You think
because
so?
Sam Raimi is just so creative with the camera, Dutch angles, all that kind of stuff.
He's got POVs. He's doing Dutch angles. He rotates it like 180 degrees when Strange wakes out of the dream world. There's a lot of craft, and like, so he's definitely putting his fingerprint on it.
He's having fun with it. So many MCU movies, obviously, because so much of it is just green screen, and
Flat.
it's very static because they just have to, you know, make it easy to put all the post-production stuff in. So I think that's a big weakness of MCU movies a lot. Even if they have good visuals in the CG, they're boringly framed. They're boringly lit. So yeah, a lot of filmmaking creativity there, which I just got to give Sam Raimi credit for.
And the Raimiism, of course, Jacob, the direct reference is when she is dreamwalking to take over the suburban mom, that's what they call the spirit cam. That is sort of the spirit of the Evil Dead that would sort of float in and just automatically possess you.
That 2x4 camera rig that they pull over the car, like a very famous Evil Dead shot. So getting to see that stuff.
Wow.
And the other thing that I noticed too, this is kind of reminds me of Sam Raimi's work, was those ghosts that he makes a cape out of, but they're kind of like weird and annoying. It reminded me of like the little ashes or some of the skeletons from Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness skeletons, Mike.
Yeah.
And they're almost stop
laughing
motion
skeletons.
looking.
Yes.
Yeah,
And when
that was great.
when he's a zombie Doctor
It's
Strange
practical.
with a cape of ghosts. Just some great imagery there, and that's
And it kind of
what's
looks like
so
Evil
fun
Ash
about the
too.
movie.
You know, he's all decayed.
Yeah.
Callbacks of that.
Like you said, this movie has its pacing problems. It's hit or miss, most of it. All the stuff I really liked was the Sam Raimi stuff. All the stuff I didn't like as much was the more standard MCU exposition and that kind of thing. But the last hour of this movie, I thought was pure Sam Raimi.
Very
It was great.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, so I have one final, because we could have looked up all the Sam Raimi-isms online, but we're doing this off the cuff because we're not going to plagiarize. But the one thing is the car. I didn't see the car, but I forgot to look for the car. He apparently puts it in all of his movies. No.
Believe this is.
There's a rumored Raimi cut that's longer, 10 minutes
You know
longer.
when they go into the universe where like the cars
It's sitting in the driveway. You look out the window of
there.
Wanda's suburban house, and maybe it's out there. Who knows? If you know where the car is, listeners, tell us, or if it's there at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the last hour I thought was really fun. The other standout part of this was the little bit of fan service, the cameos,
Gotta be
the
mentioned.
Illuminati.
Yes,
what
let's
I
talk about
really
the
liked about
Illuminati.
them- Yeah, let's talk about that. And what I really liked about them was their death scenes, basically, when Wanda comes and crushes them all immediately. That was my favorite part of the whole movie, honestly.
There is some brutal violence. It's PG-13. We were talking how they cut away from it in the previous part of the double feature, Moon Knight, if you listen to that. If you didn't, go take a look. But they cut away from a lot of the brutal action that, Jake Lockley might be doing. Here, they just show it. They're just showing it. And I'll try not to reference the other episode anymore. Sorry. But
no, it's okay. But
it's gruesome. Yeah, like what's the guy from the Inhumans? Tuning Fork, for example.
Well,
Black Bolt.
his name is Black Bolt, but to be Doctor Strange real quick, where they explain to him, this is Blackagar Boltagon, then you just have our hero of the movie literally saying to him, that's a stupid name. And it's like, oh, I guess this guy that I'm supposed to like is like, here's my issue, because I actually did not like that scene. But let's talk about the Illuminati.
Let's talk about the cameos and what we got. Yeah.
It's, this concept, again, I'm going to point to these comics that are behind me, because it all appears to be Marvel now inspired.
Got it.
To the left, they have one that's called Young Avengers. It features this woman named Miss America Chavez. She has the extraordinary ability to move between dimensions.
Yes.
Now, she is sort of beyond the Book of Vishanti. The MacGuffin of this film is actually a person.
Yes.
Can I get my hands on America Chavez?
Yes, because, again, she can go through dimensions. Wanda wants that power to go to a dimension where she can live with her kids, right? You know.
She probably would have been useful when Spider-Man was going through all that stuff.
It would have been very nice if she could have helped Loki out and taken him from this terrible bureaucratic experience. But we get Wanda giving this awful reasoning at the end of, and I want her powers because if they get sick, I'll just keep hopping universes. And you're like, what are you talking about? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
But all this to say, Doctor Strange gets wrapped up in her adventure. He is brought through all these worlds. He ends up in a world where Doctor Strange himself has become the greatest threat because he is using dark powers to save the world too much. We're going to see another version of him that's kind of obsessed with darkness to get pristine and like has destroyed his entire world for that. This is quote unquote a good Stephen Strange, but still corrupted by dark.
Yeah.
That said, he is our hero. He's put together this pantheon of what you imagine are instead the heroes of that world. They have a couple Inhumans. They have a couple mutants opposed to people like Tony Stark, people like Captain America. Instead, they have Miss Carter.
Captain England.
Captain Lady Pants.
Yeah, Captain Carter.
A different Captain Marvel, which is Latasha Lynch, who is the actress who plays Maria Rambeau, the partner to Captain Marvel in her film. Blackagar Boltagon. King of the Inhumans. You could watch that ABC series if you'd like to punish yourself.
Played by Anson Mount, who Captain.
We might be talking about against.
Oh yeah, he's strange. Well, so we get two captains in this scene, maybe two Enterprise captains.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jacob fucking going, yeah, I'm watching this new show. It's great. It stars Anson Mount, and literally an hour later, it's like, oh, there's Anson Mount. That's great.
There he is.
Right.
Another captain, Patrick Stewart. Let's talk about it. He's the animated series. He's wearing the tie. He's appearing on
They do the music. Danny Elfman, thank you.
Yes.
Put him in the fucking chair. Who cares? And the final one is this one-of-a-kind character that you've just never heard of. You don't know anything about. His name is Mr. Fantastic, and he stars this guy,
Richards.
Jim from The Office.
Jim from The Office.
The actor's name is Jim from The Office. I don't know who John Krasinski is. I know Jim from The Office.
I only know him and Jack Reacher.
I'm curious to know what you guys think of this. Obviously, this was a very popular fan casting online. So people are saying, oh, when they do Fantastic Four, they got to get Jim from The Office. I don't know why. I've never agreed with it, to be honest. I never was like, really? Why? Like, I guess because his wife is an actress who's blonde, so she could easily fill the role
Susan
of
Storm.
Mrs. Fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they want to do, cast the real life couple. I never really saw it. I never really liked Jim from The Office that much personally, but I like him in The Office, but that's the only thing I like him in. So.
Right, but you look at the suit. I thought for Mr. Fantastic was a little weird, and man, you better get some earmuffs with ears like that if Black Bolt's around, because you're in trouble, buddy. It's just there's something about the haircut doesn't work. Again, I have big ears too, so I can talk.
The beard.
Yeah, and I guess he has a beard in the comics, but something about it just didn't click. Yeah.
Now, Mike, he drops down into a scene where you kind of see an arm kind of come in, but it's not like there's some scene where he's like, and watch me grab something over there. You know,
he doesn't wrap his arms around him.
Literally, he does not showcase his powers once. He's introduced as, this is the man who funds the Baxter Foundation.
And the smartest man in the world.
Only in the fight scene does he use his powers. But
not even then. He just kind of like puts an arm a little bit out, and then he's just taken out. They do not showcase what stretching would look like.
They stretch him in his death scene too. They turn him into spaghetti basically, and his head pops. let me ask you this: John Krasinski or Miles Teller?
Oh, that's a lose-lose. Let me say,
Yeah.
Fantastic Four is my favorite superhero team. They are a boring loser
Never
family.
been done.
I forgot he was in that one that they
They
did.
suck. That movie sucks, Mike. Fan Four Stick.
Both of the Jessica Alba ones suck.
Yeah,
Yes, they
every
do.
incarnation.
But
in the movies is
Ewan Gruford would have made sense to drop in this, given what they did
Yes.
with Patrick Stewart and Anson Mount.
Mm.
What they do instead with this, isn't this what you want, fans? Where it's like, I have no idea. Is this what
Right.
it is? Is this it going
Well,
forward?
maybe
They're
it's-
like, we don't know.
They can take the temperature now, and like if we didn't like it,
Yeah.
they're like,
That's
"Oh,
all it
we're
is.
not
It's
doing
just
it."
a
Yeah.
test. Yes.
Well, no, what I like about it,
Yeah.
yes, it's a test, but it's also just like they introduce him, it's a little
It's not
fan
committal.
service, and they kill him immediately, and that's what I liked about it, is that he's dead now.
And all these characters get murked.
And that's what I
and
love about it, because this is how you
that's
use a
crazy.
cameo.
What are you talking about?
The whole battle
In a
is
multiverse?
to show Scarlet Witch's power level now, that she can easily murder Charles Xavier and all these powerful characters like it's
No.
nothing.
Disagree.
like Captain America, Captain Marvel. Yeah.
It's
you go
not
ahead.
our favorite heroes. It's not our favorite characters. If it was, and here's what would have completely saved this scene writing wise, I'm going to get into what I just don't like about the movie afterwards, but narratively, for what we have set up for this entire movie and how it's going, it does not make sense for a moment to not have a Robert Downey Jr. cameo here. The weight of the struggle of what Stephen Strange is going through. Did I do the right thing? The cost of that was one person in particular. Every person I interact with in this movie is literally going to say, did you do the right thing? Did you do the right thing? Did you do the right thing? He needs to be face to face with that choice. Whether it's a different actor as Iron Man would have made it a little weaker, but the strength, the way to do it the strongest, and Jacob's saying no because he's not going to come back, like money-wise or for whatever.
It's like
it's
if
never
you're paying
gonna
for an Robert Downey Jr. cameo, it might be a little expensive.
you would have probably knocked off 2 other Illuminati members. And I would have
Yeah.
been fine with that because narratively, it would have been a payoff for him to come face to face with the consequences of his actions. Instead, what we're left with is a scene that I have a lot of weird feelings about because what Marvel has set themselves up with that all their critics say is a villain problem. Marvel does not have good, memorable villains, okay? What they have are these bastions of hope, these incredible multidimensional heroes. And what we're getting in this film is this extraordinary gore fest where we have one of our heroes kind of just helplessly watching another one of our heroes just murder these people that I'm supposed to, as an audience member, really like. But Marvel is kind of saying, like, yes, you can really like the main ones. These copies of them, don't really worry about them too much. But also, they're the characters you love. But also, fucking watch them die. Who fucking cares? And it's
Okay,
like,
see,
Yeah. No, I see
everything you're
that.
saying, that's what I like about it. So you have this other multiverse. It doesn't matter what happens to those characters. So you can have a different
but that's them.
configuration of heroes.
Yeah, they're not people.
Don't have good villains. So kill our copies of our heroes. That's the best we can do. And you go like, you have so many
But-
good villains.
That's the strength of this movie, is that they do have a good villain. I would say Wanda in this movie, a top 3 MCU villain for me.
I disagree strongly.
Really?
I think her motivations
Wow.
are fucking stupid.
well,
Like,
that's the whole thing.
especially
She's
after the
corrupted by the
WandaVision
Dark
show,
Lord.
like, because it negates the arc, and I've seen that, I can't help but feel like this is half-baked. She's scary, like, Sam Raimi
Right,
can
but-
shoot her where she's terrifying, but she
Yeah.
doesn't have good motivation. She's stupid, and I'm sorry.
pizzazz.
It's
I
not
don't
her
agree. I
fault,
don't
it's the
agree at all.
writing.
Because her mind,
Evil
like,
book, you're evil
she's
now.
not
Like,
in her right mind. She's been corrupted by the Darkhold, so it's taking
Right.
her desires and amplifying them. Her desire for children, and it's it's sort of a trope of the the woman who will do anything to have children. Basically, it's Cersei in Game of Thrones kind of thing. But for me, I like that Sam Raimi just turns her into a total classic horror villain.
I like the way she expresses violence. I don't like her pathos, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess I can agree with if you have a problem with that, that's understandable. For me, I just really like the introducing these heroes, and maybe they could have been different. Like I didn't love Reed Richards, but and then having Wanda just easily take them
The
out.
deaths are
to show
incredible.
that
Like,
her-
let's talk about the murders, because those
Well,
are
first of all,
impressive.
Reed Richards, supposed to be the smartest man in the world, immediately tells her Black Bolt's weakness by saying,
That's right.
you know, he can speak one word, and she says, "Oh, what mouth?" Pulls a
Mhm.
matrix on him, right? Pulls a matrix.
Blows his brains out.
That's probably blows his own brains out. That's probably my favorite of these.
That was great. Then you turn John Krasinski into like fucking spaghetti. His head pops off.
Mhm. Wait. She killed Black Bolt and then sent John Krasinski to a quiet place. Next.
That's right. And I like the Captain England kill too, where it's kind of off screen, but it's implied that she like chops him.
I
chops
think
her
they
in half.
filmed that she got Darth Mauled. She was bisected by the shield, and I think they just cut it out. Yeah.
And that's what I want to say. Like, this movie, super violent and gory for an MCU PG-13 movie. Like, what they can get away with in a PG-13 is great. It's not gory compared to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so don't go in expecting. Like,
No, but
R
she does
rated, but
snap
there's a lot of
Patrick Stewart's
implied-
neck.
Yes. There's a lot
Which
of
is
implied
shocking.
and just out of frame kind of gore and violence, but I like what they were able to get away with in this movie. And
Yeah.
like you said, Patrick Stewart. Well, first of all, he has a great little mind scene where like, oh, they're gonna get into some kind of mind battle, but she even proves that she's a stronger, mind than he is,
Mhm.
and then snaps his neck. Yeah.
Yeah, but you get like the waves when he touches. Like you see him walking in the white room, which is a very comic/cartoon. You see that a lot, and then he gets the little
and
sound
standing
waves
when he's
coming out of his
blind.
brain.
Yeah.
Like the effect of seeing a visual for his brain waves. Normally, it's just like I'm thinking
Very
intensely, right? So it was very cartoon.
And
but
what do you
yes.
think? Seeing the giant yellow wheelchair
It was
from
too
the
big.
cartoon.
Well, they
It
blew
was
it in the
too big,
trailer,
Mike.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I
My theory
like
on the trailer is that they revealed the Patrick Stewart stuff to, I guess, keep the Mr. Fantastic stuff, like the real cameo, I guess.
Under
but
wraps.
For me, it didn't. I mean, that's the one that didn't work. The one that I really liked was having Professor X. Like, I thought that was perfect.
Because again, this isn't. That's not BS Fox. Patrick Stewart. This is a separate Charles Xavier. We've never seen this version before. It's implied
Right.
that it's comic related, but
And to me, that's the same level of kind of fan service as in WandaVision when Quicksilver shows up and he's X-Men Quicksilver, just as like a little joke, basically.
right. But it's
Because we
not.
don't need
Yeah.
to bring in those same characters to the MCU.
Well, it's a
I
big
think that's
test.
fun.
Yeah.
How excited were they about the? Because they're doing X-Men '97, but I did feel like the Illuminati, more like aluminum naughty. They weren't great. They weren't solid gold.
I don't understand why they're even called the Illuminati. Like, just call
Doesn't
them
make
the
sense.
Avengers or something.
Yeah, they just
Like,
call themselves
Well,
that instead of the Avengers.
It seems like in all these other worlds, though, where some call themselves the Defenders, some call themselves the other stuff. Yeah, these
Right.
versions of themselves were the Illuminati.
the
Now,
Illuminati.
in
But
the
we
comic-
have the Illuminati in our world. It's different.
It's
Mhm.
It's already a thing.
a
Yeah.
secret organization
secret.
ruled by
Beyonce.
That's right. Jay-Z's
Yeah.
in there. They should
Yep,
have
yep.
Jay-Z cameo. Yeah.
If he was also up there, that would have been cool. Now, these characters in the comic book are very similar to the ones that we get. It's like Charles Xavier, Iron Man, Namor, Reed Richards, Stephen Strange,
Mm-hmm.
one other person I can't fucking remember, who are sort of represent you're the mutants, you're the Inhumans, you're the this, right? All these stuff.
Yeah.
They are put together to stop these events that in this movie are brought up. Now, I'm pointing to it right now, but the red
Yeah.
comic behind me that I've
Mhm.
got focused is called The New Avengers. That is an Illuminati-based comic book where they set out to deal with things that are called, and introduced in that comic, incursions.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
we hear incursions in this movie. They're explained a little bit differently, but basically when someone messes up the space-time reality enough, universes are destroyed. In those comics,
I
what
watched
they
the TVA.
exactly.
orientation tape, yeah.
You've been inducted by
The universe
Timey
is
or
warred
whatever,
till
Miss
one- yeah,
Minutes.
yeah.
That's right. That's what that one was.
Yes.
In the comics, it's not necessarily these multiversal wars like Kang is kind of setting up with
Mhm.
the TVA of it all.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
more that the Illuminati, these people who can make the choices the rest of the MCU can't, discover that on a certain timeline of events, all Earths will appear at the same place at the same time, one by one. And if they do that, the one that's there is going to get destroyed by the one that keeps occurring. So they set about a task of moving through dimensions and basically blowing up other Earths. So in the comic books, you have these other established continuities it's not the MCU, it's the Marvel mythos, right?
Yeah.
616, which you get that designation in this movie.
Right.
But you have what's called the Ultimate Comic. That's a planet that introduces Miles Morales. That's a completely separate Earth than the Earth we have always followed in the mainstream Marvel comics, right? The plot of these is they're coming together. Can I make the decision to go to Miles Morales' Earth, say, fuck you, and blow that shit up? Now, this movie talks about how other stranges, have caused incursions to destroy universes. We have to stop that. This movie ends with a woman who I'm more used to seeing in dreadlocks in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yes, and
right.
Charlize Theron playing a very pivotal Doctor Strange character, his longtime love interest, the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Universe, Clea, exiting through a portal saying, the actions of this film caused an incursion. We have to go reverse it. Are you ready?
What a first date.
Of course I am. Yes.
Yeah, so this is funny.
Adventure.
Really quick, because Jacob and I were talking about the Eternals, and I haven't watched it. And I'm like, I haven't watched it, and I would only watch it if they cast Charlize Theron in Angelina Jolie's role. And then 2 hours later, after I watched this, it's like, well, there's Charlize Theron in what looks kind of like an Eternals
I'm glad they
costume.
didn't waste her, Mike, because Clea's a much cooler character.
Yeah, it seems like this is an actual win here. So yeah, that was interesting
I'm
to see.
sure
I love Charlize.
I'll be excited to see her in Doctor Strange 3 in 2028.
I'll be more excited to see her than Benedict.
My biggest issue, what you just said. We already have this film, which is quote-unquote a sequel to the 2016 Doctor Strange, which takes Chiwetel Ejiofor as Baron Karl Mordo.
Yeah, we forgot to
Rachel
mention
McAdams
Mordo
is also part of Illuminati.
And he just gets left in a hole. At least he doesn't die.
At least he gets away.
He survives.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer. These are two characters from the original franchise who I would describe as spare parts. I mean, they're not. This is a sequel to quote unquote their movie. This film's not interested in them or their story or following up. The post-cred of the first Doctor Strange is Baron Mordo killing Benjamin Bratt and saying, "I will steal the magic of all sorcerers." We've never gotten any sort of payoff for that moment in any sort of way.
Well, he probably got snapped away, or once he realized
there's a million characters
magic saved the universe, he's like, I'm not going to go on that.
Yeah.
Never mind. Who gives a shit?
First of all, you got Michael Stuhlbarg coming in, sitting in for 5 minutes with a wig, collecting a paycheck, right?
Getting top billing. He got a solo title card at the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you have the various, sorcerers and stuff at the fortress that kind of get killed off. You have the Minotaur who doesn't do anything.
Hell yeah.
Doesn't say one line. It's also a solo title card.
Nice.
And then you have the one sorceress who kind of sacrifices herself. Another pretty gruesome scene when she just gets burnt alive or whatever.
Yeah, they walk the line for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like things like this movie's like a response to, it's also a sequel to What If, because we saw Doctor Strange that destroyed his universe to get back with his girlfriend, but in the movie we're watching now, they talk about, we never get together in any universe. I always fuck it
Essentially,
up. But it's like they don't
Doctor
show us
Strange.
that. They just say there's no development, and I think there's no chemistry, and I'm not the only one who thinks that between them either.
Doctor Strange is maidenless in every universe. That's
nice, maidenless.
Elden Ring style. Now, Jacob,
yeah.
I disagree with your point that Scarlet Witch is the villain of this movie. She's made out to be, but the villain of this film is Doctor Strange. Every version he comes across of himself has given into his baser, more eviler instincts, and the question is, will our version of it succumb to that thirst of power too? And
that's kind of what...
Well, like you said, he's just not my favorite character in the MCU. He's just, I don't give a shit. So when it asks that heady question, I'm like, honestly, you could just wipe this guy away by the end of this thing. I wouldn't give a shit.
But the movie's kind of struggling to say that this Doctor Strange is different, right? That's whole, America Chavez is like, oh no, you can trust this Doctor Strange. Like, he's cool, he's nice to me, he's not trying to kill me. And I guess this is the whole, like, we're Earth Prime. That's more of a DC term, I guess. We're the Prime multiverse.
Right,
So, this is the. I mean,
we have the best version of all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Thanos try to Thanos in every universe, or was it just ours? I'm not sure.
At least
but...
two in the Illuminati.
I'm led to believe that we saw Blackagar Boltagon blow his brains out. Maybe I have no idea.
Yeah. But if this is the Prime multiverse, then maybe this is Doctor Strange Prime, which means he's kind of the best one, and he's not going to succumb to his darkness as much as these others have.
But it ends with him possessed.
He does get a third eye, and he does use the Darkhold.
But then we see, and that's why I don't like that first credit scene with Charlize Theron, because we leave on that great cliffhanger, and then we're like, oh, never mind. That's actually, we're going to come back and show this really quick.
Yeah, never mind.
Well, that's just for fun. Yeah. But
he's got a third eye now, I guess.
Yeah. They keep saying, oh, you have to be holding the knife. Like, he thinks he's the smartest man in the room, and so he cannot, like, relinquish the control and trust other people to get the job done. And then finally, at the end, he does. But it's not it's not great writing.
No, and this is a problem I had with the first one. He has the same personality as Tony Stark. Like, he's the same character. He just uses magic instead of technology, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like a grumpy wizard as opposed to, like, I'm very mystical and mysterious. He's just like, I'm tired and where's my coffee? Like, it's fun for a wizard to be like that, but Doctor Strange is not a fun character, and he's better when he's a side character in other stories, right?
I've always liked his rapport with Wong.
Yeah.
Again, Rachel McAdams, they never really had that much chemistry.
No.
But at least she gets something to do in this movie other than just be like a love interest. She kind of is in this other universe, she's like the head of the multiverse task force or whatever.
And starts to fall in love with him, but nope, we cannot do that. But I think maybe before we get to final thoughts, we have to mention we literally described her as a MacGuffin. It's supposed to be an important character, but I don't know, man. America Chavez, what do we think of America Chavez in this? I think the actress is fine. I think she's doing the best she can. It just feels underdeveloped, and it's literally she's a MacGuffin, right?
Yeah, she's a plot device. Does a wonderful performance as America Chavez. The device that is the weakest, guys, is you can't just explain her backstory with a memory machine on the side of the multiverse that we watch a clip of and go,
and it's like 30 seconds. You're
doing it all? Yeah, I have a bad past. Well, let's go over here now. And it's like, this is the worst. I honestly wonder if it's the worst screenplay in the MCU. I think it might be.
Wow.
It could be. It's things like that.
But there are weighty themes being addressed in Thor 2 that don't come down to a lot of people being like, did you make the right decision? Was the thing you did the right decision? Hey, how about the decision you made? Was it the right decision?
Yeah.
The writing wasn't great in this one.
Here's the cliff notes of my history,
The memory store where we see some memory from Doctor Strange first.
Memory lane.
Yeah, that's super weird.
I just couldn't believe it.
Writing.
Do you remember the moment where, there's actually one thing that I want to talk about that's a positive, but the moment where he interacts with Dark version of him and goes, prove it. How would you know that you're me? First off, he's a version of you who could have experienced anything. So anything you say is not going to be right or make sense. But what you do is all of a sudden drop a Doctor Strange backstory on us. My sibling fell through the ice and died. That's why I'm a doctor. Where you're like, what?
Was
this
that
is
in
the
Doctor
second
Strange 1?
movie. No, it was not, Doc. This is the second Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
Maybe his 5th appearance in the MCU. And I'm like, that's your backstory? I had no idea about that.
No.
Yeah.
And the other dude, it's like, no, he died in a bike crash.
It's like, no, that doesn't apply to me. But Mike, what did you think of the music magic fight? I said to Jacob, I think maybe that's my favorite scene. I thought that was amazing.
So I had a long day. I drove back from Temecula. It's like a 2-hour drive, and I was tired. I'm not gonna lie, I was falling asleep a little bit during that part.
Oh man.
I don't know if it's a function of not being interested in the movie or just exhaustion, but being honest, I was falling asleep a little bit during the music fight. I really tried.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. Very Raimi, and that happens in that third act, which I thought was kind of like I said, the best part of the movie. The leading up to it, very hit or miss, pacing problems, very uneven. I can agree with all that. But once you get to that wacky Sam Raimi action with zombie Benedict Cumberbatch,
Yep.
yeah,
The breaking off the dial moment of extremity is literally he's like, but Wondagore Mountain, that's where the demons have. Like, once they start saying that stuff, I'm like, you did it, Sam. Like, put this fucking shit into overdrive. Like, get us there. Dude, zombies flying through the sky with ghost capes. Fantastic. Amazing.
That was great. Yeah.
Giant golems and stuff. Yeah, like that stuff.
Gives a shit.
Yeah. The fighting was fine. Again, I think I want to talk about America Chavez again. First of all, does her universe have an America in it that is red, white, and blue? And why are you dressing like that? If not, but that's mild. But I like the way her powers look. She eventually figures out how to use them. She's fighting Wanda and says, "I can't beat you, so I'll give you what you want." She opens a portal to take Wanda to where the kids are. And it kind of reveals, like, oh, the kids are fucking terrified of evil Wanda, the witch. Oh, it's a witch, right? And, like, from the beginning, I know she's corrupted by the Darkhold, but what did she think would happen? Like,
well,
when
she's not thinking clearly. That's the whole
right. So the solution is just,
she's
have you
gone
considered?
mad,
And she's like, you know what? No, I haven't. This whole movie, I haven't just thought about it, you know?
Well, again,
and that's what fixes it.
At the end, she's, her mind is corrupted.
Yeah, Mike, it's the rehab trick. You see it a lot with junkies where it's, hey, come over here. I know you just shut up. Take a look in the mirror. What do you see right now? Where you fucking literally freak these people out at their own appearance.
That's true. And she's looking in a mirror kind of at the version of herself that would have been a good mother and how far she is from that,
and that's the closure she kind of gets when the good version of her says, like, oh, they'll be loved.
But pretty much that's all America does.
Yeah, but the thing with America is that I think she'll factor in the future. So like they're building up this whole young Avengers. They've got Hawkeye now. They've got Black Widow, new Black Widow. Florence Pugh.
We have a young Captain America, the grandson of Eli.
Yep. Right. So so we have all these younger characters now. We have America Chavez. We have Ms. Marvel coming out soon. I think they're all going to be sort of interacting in the future.
But no Billy and Tommy. It's interesting that it didn't end with them coming to...
Wiccan and Speed,
Yeah, well, maybe they'll find another way to bring them in at some point.
Well, we do literally have someone who can go to any universe now, thanks, America.
Yeah, she can just recruit, hey, meet these two people. They're from X, Y, and Z dimension.
That is her function now.
I'm already up to speed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and again, like I said, Wanda pulls a Doc Ock at the end, pulls the building down. We don't know for sure that she's dead.
No.
Kind of open-ended, so maybe she's dead.
So powerful.
Maybe she'll come back.
Yeah. Well, here's a thought then. Maybe now's a good time to jump to final thoughts. Let's kind of look at speculations. Where is this MCU thing going? We've talked Moon Knight. We've talked, Multiverse of Madness. This is all leading somewhere. I have some thoughts. I think our other hosts do too. So let's hold on. Let me just punch this portal. Bah! All right. Go on to the other segment. Let's go. See you in a minute.
We're back. We're wrapping up this little Marvel double feature, an annual, if you will, a big overstuffed issue that's featuring two things. That's right, Moon Knight and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But we're really giving our final thoughts here just kind of on the state of the MCU.
Yeah, because obviously Moon Knight is weirdly, not weirdly, but it's not connected to, say, anything in the MCU. Like, it's in a bubble, like, more or less, except for Black Panther because the ancestral plane, but that's really the only thread that's kind of tying it to anything else. And then Doctor Strange, as we said, we didn't go to many multiverses, really. Like, there's a montage scene, but we pretty much spend time in 2 or 3 universes. That's it. They're not that crazy or different than ours. And they are a way that we can just have, expendable characters just to kill, without consequence, which is great for the spectacle, bad for the storytelling, perhaps. So, weirdly, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is also not that connected to the MCU as a whole because this adventure is taking place in another universe. Like, he's not, bringing along other characters. Like, Wong is kind of the only thing from MCU Prime. So, even this one feels kind of disconnected. And I think both of the properties... What is their purpose then? If they're not part of the continuing continuity and the interconnectedness, then why do we do it? The thought is now we have a vehicle through America Chavez, through which the thought, and it's been said before, is that we're leading up to, with Kang and everything, a secret wars, where we can get Miles Morales, we can get Morbius over here, whoever the hell we want, just collide them together. Frick it. A bunch of incursions.
Chris
We're going to
Evans,
get it.
the
Yeah.
Human Torch.
We
Flame
could
on!
do it. Yeah. We'll get
Love that guy.
Deadpool. No, he can't
Yes.
kill he can't kill Green Lantern. I was going to say that would be great though.
Deadpool
Just he literally goes to the DC universe.
That would be amazing. Deadpool was really rumored to be the post-credit scene.
That's what I heard,
I was
too.
very shocked he was not, Mike.
I'm not sure if it was filmed or cut, but I know that was a pitch, and they're like, we want to save him, we want to bring him in the right way, and they said they're going to do an R-rated movie, and this is getting close.
Right.
So I just think it's all, we're teaching people about multiverses through Spider-Man, What If, this, and then we just smash them together. But it did feel like it had kind of no consequences because all of this happened outside of our universe. Yeah.
But some big finale, you think? The next Avengers.
The next
quote-unquote,
end game will be the Secret Wars, I think, thing, and that's off the tail of that. The new Avengers now inherit Earth 616, and the older guard kind of retire. Thor and everybody kind of take a back seat.
To your point, I almost wonder if they're seeding this our version of Doctor Strange as possessed/evil, so that the audience has like a character that they know or relate to who can lead the evil side of Secret Wars. We can have all our heroes versus our Doctor Strange, who's possessed, has recruited.
He's just so pragmatic, yeah.
Yeah, but like Lou Ferrigno's the Hulk, it's like fucking Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Like, give me the best ofs, baby.
Dude, you get Magneto, Michael Fassbender, and Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse. That'd be great though. Why not?
I love it, I guess.
So yeah, you can pull everybody from every universe, and they were just kind of testing: do we like John Krasinski, or do we go a different direction? And like, do they like the old X-Men, or do we do something different? So they're just trying to figure out what people respond to the most. And then they'll do that.
Stick.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, the I guess the main point of Doctor Strange connecting to the larger MCU is the America Chavez factor. Like, she's going to factor into other stuff, and also just the kind of ending of Wanda's arc that's gone from basically Infinity War to now, right? With Vision dying, her basically having a mental breakdown about that, and then where we are now. So I don't know. I think we could talk final thoughts about Doctor Strange. Maybe I'm seem a little more positive on it than you two guys.
I mean, we're just going around here. One thing I want to say is I feel the fatigue. I want to ask you guys, do you feel it? Colin, and then we'll do any last stuff. So.
Yes, I do. I'm a dieharder. I rewatch these. I listen to podcast commentaries that are them watching the Marvel movies, that I have more excuses to watch them. And I'm at the point where it's like if Sam Raimi wasn't making this movie, guys, Jacob and I were not there day one. Let me tell you that. Like, there's just not a chance in a multiverse where Scott Derrickson's like, here comes Doctor Strange 2, baby.
Yeah, no.
Right. I think I'm not feeling the fatigue as much because you know what, my relationship to Marvel movies is like, I'll see them once, enjoy them while I'm watching them, and then I won't think about them again. So it's again. I'm not investing that much into them, so I'm not expecting that much back from them. And I think this era to me is still better than the Iron Man 2,
Thor 2.
Thor 2. Like, the early misfires are still worse to me. Like, at least there's something interesting about most of the movies that come out. And I'll put Doctor Strange above the Black Widows and the Ant-Mans of the world. Because it is doing something different, and the Sam Raimi angle is enough for me to be interested. But like you said, if Sam Raimi wasn't directing this, it would be pretty low on my list for sure.
I rewatched Infinity War because of, that's a pretty big Doctor Strange movie. And I forgot that it has the green vest, blonde hair Black Widow because that's after her movie. And just, the mental taxation that happened where I was like, oh, will I ever have to watch Black Widow again? That stupid movie. It made me feel sick, Jake.
Well, I think when Black Widow came out, we felt more positive on it. But I guess the more time passes, you're like, maybe.
I just like Yelena.
More of these that come out. Yes, you do. I know.
Basically, for me.
They're poisoning the well. He likes Yelena.
Yeah,
she's a great character.
That's why she is.
the Marvel future of having these young stars, Haley Steinfeld,
Mhm.
they're in good hands that way. I mean, what are we excited for? I mean, I'm hugely excited for Thor: Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi. Like, that's enough for me to get interested. I love Thor: Ragnarok, so I'm definitely going to see that.
Another
I'm
director with
excited for
style.
Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blade's another one I'm very excited for. So you put
Why?
those two properties. I love Blade.
Hey.
Come on, man. Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes should walk through one of these portals.
Yes,
That's
if
all
Wesley
I'm
Snipes
saying.
doesn't show up in Secret War, I'm gonna riot.
Absolutely.
No, I love the character of Blade, and I think Mahershala Ali is a great actor, so I know they'll nail that. Black Panther 2, I'm less interested in, but like, there's enough.
Also, sadly, no Chadwick Boseman. That would have helped
my
a lot.
hero's
Actually.
dead in that movie. I don't want to see that.
That's
film.
unfortunate.
They have to just fill the void, unfortunately. Yeah.
But there's enough of these where it's like, some of them I'll like more than others, and that's the way it just kind of always is. Ant-Man 3, I'm kind of hit or miss on again, but it's like there's enough with Thor and Blade for me to keep me excited for the next year.
Yeah, it's Quantumania, right? So it's more multiverse
It's gonna be
stuff,
more
I
multiverse,
guess.
Yeah.
It's tiring. It's tiring to think about. You know what Marvel movie I've
This is
seen
what
more than
people
any
wanted,
other?
right?
Yeah, I guess. But now that we're here, but the one I've seen more than any is Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Mike, you're the worst.
I'm not lying.
seen that
I've
one the
seen
most?
that at least 7 times. I've never seen any other Marvel movie. I own the Blu-ray. I genuinely liked it. I like Edward Norton. I don't know why. I watch
You're
that
the
a lot.
worst. You're
And
the
it's the first one. I'm sorry, but
Bring
that's where
him
I'm
through the
coming from.
multiverse.
That's
Why not?
fascinating.
But yeah, so that's technically the first one. It had that post cred with Nick Fury, and then Iron Man came out after, right? A lot of people
No,
forget about
opposite.
it.
But
Oh,
it has the post cred with Iron Man.
We're putting a
saying
team together,
These
yeah.
movies are tied together, which is crazy.
But the things you're
Yes.
complaining about are the things that people supposedly wanted. More connectivity, more like this connected universe idea, but now we're kind of getting sick of it. But that's what
sensory
they wanted from
overload.
these comic book movies, right?
Initially, yeah.
Jacob, there were those people who were like, if Kevin Feige doesn't tell me Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is connected to the rest of it, I will go to his home and shoot him in the head while he sleeps.
Yeah.
And now we have this situation where Kevin Feige's like, of course Charlie Cox is Daredevil. Of course Agents of
Everything's
S.H.I.E.L.D. is
canon
this thing.
until we decide it's not.
Yeah, of course this is
Yeah.
this thing. Inhumans? I had nothing to do with that show. Of course Inhumans is tied to. And you just go like, but the Reed Richards of it all too. To even just go, even the stuff you're daydreaming about is real. To me,
Even the memes
is
are real.
ridiculous. Yes, to even
yeah.
say the memes are real. It's
like
ridiculous.
they saw the success of Spider-Man: No Way Home with Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, all the, Sam Raimi Spider-Man villains coming in. They're like, well, how can we one up that? Let's get Patrick Stewart in there. Let's get Jim
Patrick
from The
Stewart be
Office.
the animated X-Men from your childhoods. And
Yeah.
you're like, what is the jump in logic there? These Spider-Men, I guess we're all in Spider-Man movies. What does Doctor Strange have to do with the animated TV show from my childhood?
Right.
People talk about them on Marvel forums. That's all.
That's it. It's good SEO and people will like it.
And
That's
they are
all they're
doing
making choices with.
Yeah, they're
But
doing
to me,
X-Men
what Doc-
97, so it's like, remember the cartoon? But
What Doctor Strange is, though, it just still feels like a very comic book movie where it's like it's kind of a one-off where wacky things happen. It doesn't have a huge effect on the universe at large, but it still feels very comic booky.
Jacob, you said he does not feel like the biggest character in his movie. He is a vehicle in his movie for all other characters to experience anything that they could, anything possible. He's also the vehicle for the MCU to experience anything possible that anyone could think of.
Right.
Vehicles don't make very interesting characters. Your
No.
car is not a very interesting
Lightning
character.
McQueen
That's
would
why he's-
disagree.
Right, and that's why he's popped up like 4 times in between his 2 solo movies.
Spider-Man,
Because
he's
he works
in.
better as a side character who just pops in.
Yes.
That's why he works well in Spider-Man.
Yes.
And that's why he works well in the Avengers. But
And Infinity War, I think, is still the best version of him because Jacob, like you said, you can feel every producer off screen holding up a picture of Robert Downey Jr. being like, you should act like this guy in every other appearance. But in the movie Infinity War, where he shares screen time with Robert Downey Jr., they're like, well, you can't do that. Just be you, just be a character. And it's like, oh, you're letting him be Stephen Strange? great.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get to see it. It's funny because there's so many versions of him in this, but he does get maybe overshadowed by Wanda. But
Yes.
yeah.
I think the good news is if you're feeling fatigue, Marvel fatigue, the good news is
There's only 80 more
it's gonna
things
go
coming
on
out.
forever. It will never. So get ready.
You'll never catch up entirely. It will never stop.
Yeah.
Sleep tight, America. I think that's the thing. Like, maybe it's just not. This next phase isn't for us. It's for the younger kids. It's not for us anymore. It's being passed down, and I think the Secret Wars is going to be the passing of the torch.
Yeah, I
We
think
were
that's
at a
fine.
point where the whole MCU in these quote-unquote phases was a nice book that was getting written, and it's just going and going and going, and here's the pages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the binding to that book, the phase we're in now, has been torn asunder because they are stuffing in 500 pages now. That's the
Yeah.
premise of it. Anything
Right.
can be fun. Now, like we said with Secret Wars, eventually what the plot's going to be is the book is closed, where the death of the multiverse will be the entire storyline of that, and all the characters we're left with are quote unquote set, and that'll be its own next phase of aren't you invested in this? That'll be for our kids or something. Again, I will be dead by the point all of this ending.
You'll be
I will
dead.
not be able to live through the rest of this MCU.
But maybe your
I'm starting to
multiverse,
grasp.
a version of you in the multiverse will
Hopefully,
appreciate
I'll
it.
We'll
dream
understand it.
Hopefully, I'll dream it and I'll be able to watch it, Jacob.
Yeah, to me right now, the MCU, to give you another metaphor, it's like a TV show that you really like that's gone on too long. The Simpsons in season 30. It's not as good as it used to be, maybe, but you still like The Simpsons. So at the end of the day, you can kind of watch it as, mindless
You
entertainment.
know the characters' names.
Yeah. Most of the
But
time.
it's hard to keep a good thing going for too long. Like eventually everything, reaches its end point. With the MCU, as long as they keep printing money, they're going to keep making them, right? So,
And
what
this
can you do?
Doctor Strange made a lot of money.
It's
400
made a
billion
lot of money,
globally.
Mike.
It's probably going to make $1 billion.
there you go. So they're still pumping out gold.
It's the
so
11th
why- not
highest
gonna stop
opening
anytime
weekend of
soon.
all time.
You're
Yeah.
right. Fuck us.
So we're not going anywhere. Marvel's not going anywhere.
Right.
And
I think
Yeah.
the closest thing they've had to a flop was the Eternals, and that still did, probably a couple $100 million domestically. So it's like,
yeah,
they can keep making these forever.
they're literally printing money. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they're just going to keep going. But that's our we'll probably have more of these big Marvel episodes because it's never going to stop. And there'll be probably multiple things releasing on the same weekend. So we thank you for taking this journey. Anything else we want to say before we wrap her up?
No, I'm going to hold hands
Oh.
with Jacob, and we're going to recite the special phrase to bind you into an Ushabti mic. But what
Okay.
do you want to get out before you say that?
Why didn't they find a version of Vision to talk to Wanda?
Yeah, that would have been.
Why
all
was
in
there
the
not?
theater.
We had the Ultron
Yeah.
robots.
Where's Paul Bettany?
Who was the dad to that Wanda's kids? Also, did she have
Yeah.
powers before she was dreamwalked, or did she get powers just because of the possession?
But she was always Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, and even in that universe. Anyway, those are the questions I leave you with. Get Paul Bettany to be like, Wanda, this is illogical, even from another
I'm gonna do
universe.
I did
Yeah.
ask Colin about that at the theater. I said, "Where's Paul Bettany?" My only thought is, we ain't got our RDJ money. We ain't got Paul Bettany money. I guess.
It's-
Right.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
It's hard over
We
here.
got Jim from The Office money, and
Yeah.
be happy with that.
Patrick Stewart can be there for 6 hours only.
Between episodes of Picard season 2.
Oh yes.
I'll
if you'd
walk
like
across
to.
the street if you'd like.
I've just taken a THC gummy. You want me to sit in a what? A flying wheelchair? Interesting.
All right. Oh, my other thing. One
Great.
correction. I made the joke Illuminati. That's because of their Silver Ultron robots.
That's right.
That's what I meant to.
That's
Nice.
right. That
Anyways,
must be why.
so we'll leave you with that
That must be
gem, that infinity gem of a joke.
That was an infinity gem. And if you have an infinity gauntlet, we urge you to snap on over to our socials at normies_like_us, where a version of you can leave a version of a review of this podcast, because that really helps us out, or like and subscribe. If you want to do it as multiple versions of you, maybe that's a Moon Knight version. Maybe Steven leaves a review. We'll take those as well.
Yeah, log into all those Gmails and leave good reviews, please.
All your alters, please.
Yeah, yeah.
And hit us up at the YouTube. Check that out too. Jacob's doing awesome work there with these videos here, where you can see us pointing out all these dumb comics behind me.
Yeah.
That's right.
And what color will our backgrounds be? That's the other part of the
That's
mystery.
right,
So be
that's
sure to
right.
tune in for that. But yeah, thanks for hanging with us on this jumbo-sized Marvel State of the Union.
I've
episode.
been your host, Colin Shu.
Mike Spector, not the most violent, but kind of.
And this is Jacob Strangemoon. Thank you for the multiverse of nightness.
Ooh.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night,
Moon.
Miss. Good night,
night,
Moon. Bye.
Bye.